Could Scary Terry, a.k.a. Terry Rozier, be on his way to the 305 to be traded to the Miami Heat at the NBA trade deadline on February 8th? I am Nic Rohloff of the Heat Report by Chat Sports. That is the topic of today's video because an NBA insider actually linked or reported, I should say, that Rozier would welcome and wants to be traded to the Heat ahead of the NBA trade deadline. We'll talk about that and more in just a bit. But I want to make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we will have you covered on all things Miami Heat, whether it be the latest trade rumors or injury news. There will be no better place on YouTube to be alerted around anything the Miami Heat as we approach that February 8th trade deadline. We also go live multiple times a week for watch parties. We'll be live on Friday for a game against the Hawks where we're actually honoring Udonis Haslem and retiring his jersey at the Kaseya Center. For join us for that, but also make sure you have those noties turned on because if the Heat do make a trade, we will go live at the trade deadline. Well, let's jump into the report, and it's actually coming from our main man, Jake Fischer, over at Yahoo Sports, because he had to say this. Terry Rozier's strong play has made the combo guard a more viable trade candidate than ever at his $24 million average annual salary, with a known preference in joining the Miami Heat, league sources told Yahoo Sports, not ESPN, my bad on that one. But this should not come as a surprise to anyone. Terry Rozier has had connection to the Miami Heat for some time now, and actually our main man, Chief Trilly, Austin, if you follow him on Twitter, actually had the news or rumors on Terry Rozier wanting to be traded to the Miami Heat first. He tweeted that out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, had it in the group chat that Rozier wanted to come to the Miami Heat. So shout out to him. I wanted to give his flowers. But Jake Fischer, someone who has more experience breaking news and reporting, I should say, had this and we wanted to talk about it. And I got to be honest, I love Terry Rozier as the Heat's point guard. He provides scoring, he provides defense, he provides playmaking. Terry Rozier is an athletic guard who, yes, is undersized, but that doesn't define him. He's able to get to his spot offensively. He's also really good at poking the ball free, averaging just over a steal a game, jumping that passing lane. He's also a very athletic guard who I'm a fan of. And I know the Heat have had some interest in him in the past. And obviously Rozier has mutual interest in joining the Miami Heat. So I think we have to seriously consider this being something that could happen in trading for Rozier and adding him to this roster. You wouldn't have to trade probably any of your core pieces for Rozier. We'll talk about potential trade packages coming up in just a bit. But I'd love Terry Rozier as my Heat point guard. But how about you? Be the GM for me. Do you want to trade for Terry Rozier? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know in the comment section if you want Pat Riley and company to make a deal for Scary Terry at the trade deadline. This year, he's been terrific for the Charlotte Hornets. 26 games, he's been averaging 24 a night while dishing out 6.8 assists a night. Also not afraid to get on the glass for an undersized point guard. 3.8 rebounds a night. But the efficiency has been improved for him over the year. 45.7% from the field and shooting 37% from beyond the arc. And everything I said a little bit earlier about Rozier still holds true. I really like his ability to get to his spots. He's athletic. His ability to shoot over outstretched arms is also very interesting. I remember watching him play against Miami one time, and Terry was just sidestepping and elevating over arms of Butler, Adebayo, Haywood Highsmith, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and knocking down threes like it was nothing. And for someone of his size to be able to do that, that's really impressive. And another thing that has really intrigued me is that what he's been able to do as the lead ball handler. These are his stats this year without LaMelo Ball. You saw his stats on overall the season. His points per game goes up 1 full point when Ball isn't there because he obviously is the main ball handler and distributor and initiator of that Hornets offense. But when LaMelo's not there, the points go up, the assists go up to 7.4, the rebounds stay about the same. But Rozier has been able to prove that as someone who initiates the offense, is the main ball handler, he can really get things going for a team. And yes, it hasn't led to winning, but that Hornets roster outside of LaMelo, Rozier, and Brandon Miller is pretty rough. And I think Rozier would be a great addition to the Miami Heat. I really do. He has the ability to take over games with his scoring. He also can take a step back and facilitate for Tyler Hero, for Jimmy Butler, for Bam. I think a Rozier and Adebayo pick and roll would be very dynamic. And then you also have Hero and Butler waiting on the perimeter, whether it be cutting back door for a dunk in that dunker spot on the baseline for Jimmy, or Hero and a catch and shoot three. I think the fit is really nice. I think he also would help your point of attack defense because that's been really lacking for Miami lately, is that attack defender that can take over the opposing team's best guard and ball handler and limit them. We just watched Emmanuel Quickley and Gary Trent Jr. absolutely shred the Miami Heat on Wednesday evening. Gary Trent went 8 of 9 from 3. Emmanuel Quickley was driving by Hero and Kyle Lowry with ease. Terry Rozier, not the best defender, but he's athletic and lateral enough to stay in front of those type of guys. So that doesn't happen as often. I'd love to add Terry Rozier to the Heat team. He's also had big playoff moments for the Boston Celtics in the past. Scary Terry was a nickname created for him when he was going toe-to-toe with LeBron James when his best players around him were rookie Jason Tatum and second-year man Jaylen Brown. Terry Rozier lives up to big moments and hits big shots. I love the potential fit of Terry Rozier in the 305. And we'll talk about potential trade packages for Terry in just a bit. But I do want to show some love to our sponsor tonight, which is Factor. Get started with your New Year's resolutions with Factor meals so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year of 2024. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door that are ready to be heated up and consumed within 2 minutes. They have over 35 meals to choose from on a weekly basis, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. Plus, over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Forget frantic lunch preps and rush dinners. Factor's 2-minute meals are your secret weapon in 2024. Fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals, all delivered right to your door. Factor also now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on the schedule. I've got a busy schedule, which is why I absolutely love using Factor. Use code NBAChat50 at factormeals.com/NBAChat50 to get 50% off. One more time, that's factormeals.com/NBAChat50. Use code NBAChat50 to get 50% off. That link will be clickable in the chat and description of today's video. Terry Rozier is among some of the top trade options I want for the Miami Heat. And we've said this a lot, and I've been well documented mentioning that I believe point guard is the most important thing the Heat need to trade for and upgrade at the trade deadline. I think Kyle Lowry has done a good job over the past 2.5 years, but with that $29 million expiring contract, you have to take advantage of that and ship that off alongside a pick potentially to get a better playmaker, a better difference maker for the Miami Heat at that point guard spot. Because I think you have a really good lineup and a good schedule and a good rotation that just needs a little bit more tweaking, a little bit more athletic ability at that guard spot, a little more playmaking, a little bit more offensive firepower alongside Tyler Hero in that backcourt to get Miami over the hump. Now, our good friend Barry Jackson did quote tweet and come up with a couple trade ideas that would work financially for Terry Rozier, and I want to show them to you guys because they were interesting for sure. Trade idea number 1 that was presented from our good friend Barry Jackson, this is all salary batch, is this. Because Rozier is making $24 million, so Kyle Lowry a little bit more than Rozier, so it can't be a 1-for-1 swap. But the Heat get Scary Terry to fill out that point guard position. The Heat send Duncan Robinson and Nikola Jovic. Got mixed feelings on that one. I'll get to that in a second, but I just wanted to show and present to you both trades before I get into my full thoughts on them. That was trade number 1. Trade number 2, a little bit more interesting. You get Rozier, also former lottery pick, UConn Husky guard James Bouknight, and you this time send Kyle Lowry. You match salary with Bouknight and Rozier, but because of the Heat just moving off Lowry and not giving up any young pieces, they send 2 first-round picks, presumably in 2027 and 2029. Don't think those would be unprotected. Those probably would be lottery protected. Hell, maybe even top 20 protected. But I'm not putting it past the Heat being one of those offers, and Barry Jackson, who's obviously well-versed with the Heat organization and someone who knows basketball, came up with 2 trade ideas, and I think they're interesting. Now, I do want, before I give you my thoughts to round out this video, to pick a trade. If you had to make a pick on a trade to send out for Terry Rozier, would it be the first one where you give up Duncan Robinson and Jovic for Terry Rozier, just players, no picks, nothing else? Or would it be the picks version where you send Kyle Lowry, you give up 2027 first and a 2029 first round pick, you get Terry Rozier and James Bouknight in return? Let me know which trade you would prefer. Pick a trade for me down in the comment section. Type 1 for the first one, which is the player swap. Pick 2 if you want the Lowry and pick swap. If I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I detailed throughout this video how much I'd like Terry Rozier and I think he'd be a good fit for Miami, I don't think I'd do any of those trades. If we go back to trade number 1, I don't think Nikola Jovic is worth trading for Terry Rozier. That's how I feel. I think Scary Terry's a good ball player, but Jovic showed me a lot of good things over the last 2.5 weeks, and I don't think Rozier is the level of player that I'd be willing to move off Jovic. You also lose Duncan Robinson, who I've been critical of at times for his inconsistent play, but there's still no doubt about him being your best three-point shooter. And you lose that three-point shooting alongside a floor-spacing big man who's 20, 21 years old, who can grow to be a really good player in this league. I don't know if I'd be willing to trade off of both Jovic and Duncan Robinson for Scary Terry Rozier. Don't think I'd be willing to do that. And you look at trade number 2, where you send 2 first-round picks and Kyle Lowry for Rozier. Obviously, you just don't really lose anything in terms of player-wise, and all you do is upgrade at that point guard position. You swap out Lowry for Terry Rozier. That obviously makes this Heat team way, way better, right? Like a Rozier, Hero, Butler, Jaquez, Bam 5 with Jovic, Caleb Martin, Highsmith, Duncan off the bench. I mean, that's a really good top 9. I'd probably take that over any other top 9 inside the NBA and definitely inside the Eastern Conference. The only issue I have with that trade is that it limits your future. Right? Like you lose 2 first-round picks. And when I mean limits your future, I'm not talking about you lose out on 2 future first-round draft picks. I'm talking about you lose out on the ability to trade for a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who I expect to come available in the offseason because he's not going to sign long-term in Cleveland. And I think Cavs know that, and they're going to keep him this year and trade him before he goes into free agency the following offseason. So if he comes available in the offseason, but you expended 2 first-round picks for Terry Rozier, that really limits your ability to get D-Mitch. And I know Heat fans would be very upset with the inability to trade for Donovan Mitchell. And you might even say to yourself, well, we have Rozier, who's worth 2 first-round picks according to our own trade. We also have Tyler Hero, Jovic, and Jaquez. I'll tell you what, Cavs wouldn't want Rozier and Tyler Hero. They have Darius Garland. If they're going to rebuild, they're going to want a guy like Jaquez or maybe Jovic in probably one of Rozier and Hero. But they're also going to want picks. You just use 2 first-round picks for Terry Rozier. As much as I like Terry Rozier on the Miami Heat, he'd make us a better basketball team this year. I'm not trading Jovic and Duncan Robinson for him. That's number 1. And I'm also not trading 2 first-round picks just to move off Kyle Lowry's salary and upgrade that point guard position. I'd do it for a guy like DeJounte Murray, who's a little bit younger and who I think's game is a little bit better as a whole because he's better on the defensive side of the basketball court. And I think he fits the Heat better than Terry Rozier. I'd trade 2 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray. He's younger. He's better. Not doing it for Terry Rozier. You can disagree with me in the comments section, but make sure you do subscribe to the channel because I will have you covered on a daily basis leading up to that February 8th NBA trade deadline. You will not want to go anywhere else for Heat trade rumors. And like I said, if the Heat do make a move, we'll go live on that NBA trade deadline day or whenever that move gets made. And if they don't make a trade, well, you'll know I'll have some strong feelings on that matter. So subscribe to the channel and lock us in here at the Heat Report. We'll have you covered better than anyone else.